Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Base Pats and Brewskis. Today I have episode 8, and it's taking a step away from focusing on the Brewers so much. We're going to do a bit of a MLB season projection. Next episode will be my all BNB team, kind of basing it off a little bit of the Talkin' Baseball all JM team. It's basically going to be throughout the season who I feel is performing the best up to that point at each position. Uh, We'll forget about that for now, though. That'll be coming out tomorrow. So today, let's talk about my predictions of what this MLB season is going to look like. If you can hear any dogs fighting in the background, that is because there are dogs fighting in the background. I am not making money off this, so please avoid the Michael Vick comments. Uh, I'm not I'm not taking money lines on a winner. However, Charlotte is quite the fighter. Today's BP, we will have the Sprecher Fire Brewed Creamed Soda. So obviously not a beer. Uh, Last two episodes of non-alcoholic. I'm honestly just probably gonna have this for the next episode as well. Don't know how you don't like cream soda. That is freaking good. But yeah, obviously not a beer. I got that. I found it at my parents' house. I had left it there a long time ago, and I decided that this would be the drink for episodes 8 and 9. I get it's not a beer. Whatever. Cancel me. I don't know. All right, let's move on. Starting off with my teams that will make the playoffs. I had the Brewers as the sixth seed in the NL West, in the NL as a wild card position. However, after some of the additions the Giants have made, I had to add them in as the sixth team. I just think they're going to be so much better with Blake Snell, Logan Webb at the top of that rotation, along with some other real good starters. Harrison in there. There's a couple other guys who are going to be pretty solid for them. Matt Chapman at third base. They already have an interesting lineup with Jung Hoo Lee in center field. Um, some other interesting pieces like Tyro Estrada. They've got Sable at catcher. I can't remember who their other catcher is. Another young guy who's pretty solid as well. Wilmer Flores is on the team as well. Overall, just a really good team. I feel like I'm forgetting someone big on this team. Marco Luciano potentially at shortstop. Uh, Yeah, okay. If I forgot someone, oh, Jorge Soler. He'll probably DH for them, maybe play a little right or left field, something like that. But they look really solid. But let's run through the AL to start. Got a little sidetracked, a little Brewers bias there. The first seed is the Astros. I think they're just too good, too solid. Seven straight ALCS appearances. Not much more to be said. I think they know how to win and they will win. And I think they'll be a 100-win team, or at least pretty close to it, probably high 90s. The Orioles I have as my two seed. I don't think they're going to win their 101 games like last year, but I certainly think they're going to take the AL East and be good enough to earn a two seed. Their lineup can bang. They have dudes in the minor leagues waiting to come up. Obviously, they got Corbin Burns from our Brewers in exchange for Joey Ortiz and DL Hall. I think that's a huge boost to your team, obviously. Corbin Burns is going to help anyone. Big season for Gray Rod, potentially Grayson Rodriguez. He had some time down back in the minors last season, and after he got sent down, came up and absolutely shoved. So can't wait to see that. The Twins I have as the three seed. The AL Central, as competitive as a division as it is, sarcasm. They, I think they're the best team still in the division. Their pitching's too good, even though they lost Sonny Gray. Still think their bullpen's too good. Joan Duran, for don't know how to say it really. Um, Stud, uh, Eddie Julian stud, Royce Lewis gonna be probably I think dark horse MVP candidate, but that's a pretty big stretch. I think Byron Buxton will be back in center field a lot more. Interested to see them play. The Rangers, I think they're gonna come out and bang just like last year. They have such a good lineup, top to bottom. Obviously Wyatt Langford's making the opening day roster. Um, Evan Carter is going to get a full season after he crushed in the playoffs. Can't wait to see that lineup. The Yankees, I don't know how they couldn't make the playoffs. That's what everyone said last year, though, too. And look what happened. So with Juan Soto, Judge, Garrett Cole at some point will come back this season. I think this team is just too star-studded not to be good. Um, and yeah, I think they're going to finally do it, crack the wild card, potentially, win their first round game. We'll see. And last, I had the Mariners. Very, I don't know. This was a tough spot, the last spot in this AL race with some of the teams like the Blue Jays. I obviously didn't include the Rays into the um, playoffs. I think that it's just going to be too competitive in the AL. I don't think it's going to be because the Rays are bad. However, I don't think they did enough to go out and secure, um, having a playoff caliber team. I think they'll get very close, but obviously that's what everyone says every year. I just think, in my opinion, the Mariners did a lot more to improve their team. Just running down their lineup: J.P. Crawford, Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, Cal Raleigh, Mitch Haniger, Dominic Canzoni, Ty France, and Josh Rojas. That's a team that can just smash the ball, and scoring more runs than the opponent is the name of the game. Not to mention Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert as your top three starting pitchers. So, yeah, that's also something that's worth mentioning. Moving on to the NL, let's talk about the number one team, Dodgers. They're good. All right. Number two, the Braves. They're also really good. And now it's where it starts getting interesting is the Cubs. Um, the Cubs, I think, win the Central. I don't think they made crazy changes to the team, but the Central is so competitive, kind of like the AL Central. It's not necessarily competitive in a top dog way, but I mean, there's some rivalries in this division, and I think there's a lot of good players on this Cubs team. Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Cody Bellinger, obviously back on the team. Christopher Morel, I think, is going to have a breakout season. Dansby Swanson is solid as always at the shortstop position. And other guys like Michael Bush have the chance to break out. Nico Horner is obviously going to be an everyday starter for him. Jan Gomes at catcher, some veteran leadership, I guess. Potentially Pete Crow Armstrong at some point. In the rotation, they've got Justin Steele, Shota, Ibanaga, Kyle Hendricks, Jordan Wicks being stretched out to being a starting pitcher again, which I was super excited to see. Something I kind of wish the Brewers would have done personally, as he's not even 25 yet. And I think he's just going to be a stud in the starting lineup. Alzolay is a closer. Some other notable relievers: Neris, Merriweather, Leiter Jr., Drew Smiley. That's an interesting name to see. Mincy Almonte. So I think there's a lot of cool guys in this on this team. And with Craig Counsell, I mean, Craig Counsell's an automatic 10 wins to your season, right? I mean, he's I'm just kidding, but I mean, it's kind of sucks seeing him with the Cubs and sucks predicting this, but this is just the way I see it. Number four, I have the Diamondbacks. Obviously, made it to the World Series last year. I think they're going to do well this year. They're built for a regular season run with Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Gurriel, Christian Walker. Adding Jock Peterson is a big get. You've got some other guys on the bench: Jace Peterson, former Brewer, Gabby Moreno at catcher, stud. Eugenio Suarez was added to go play third base for them. Alec Thomas, Geraldo Perdomo. I think Perdomo had a great start to his regular season last year and then tailed off at the end. But I think that this lineup is stacked with Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, who pitched pretty good in the playoffs. All those guys in the starting rotation. Paul Sewald as your ninth inning shutdown guy. I think this is going to be a solid team. Number five, I have the Phillies. I think kind of like the Rangers. Just going to go out and bang. They have a little more pitching than the Rangers, though, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just not super informed on it, but the rotation of the Phillies looks pretty dangerous when you have like Zach Wheeler, who just got extended, Aaron Nola pitching for you as well. Those are two studs at the top of your rotation with Ranger Suarez as well, Spencer Turnbull. I like this rotation a lot. Christopher Sanchez. And the lineup, solid again. Schwarbs, Turner, Harper, Real Muto, Stott, Bohm, Castellanos, Marsh, Johan Rojas potentially making the team. I mean, hold on a sec. Got dogs scratching at the Sorry about that. Let's take a sip. So again, I think the Phillies, they just want to make the playoffs. I think they came out and said that their goal is not just to make the playoffs, but to win the division. But in all seriousness, I think we all know that wild card teams can make the big dance, and I think they know that as well. The last team I had was the Giants. Like I said at the beginning, just too many additions um, to the team that I liked. I originally had the Brewers in this sixth spot, but I just can't do it with the additions the Giants made. Um, and the outlook I have on how aggressive they'll be to pursue a playoff position compared to the Brewers. So it's kind of how I looked at it. Doesn't mean I don't think the Brewers will be competitive. I still think they'll be at least an 80 win team, but I don't know. We'll have to see. My projected award winners. I have Julio Rodriguez finally winning an MVP, kind of similarly to like a Acuna. I just think he's going to be too dominant. My Cy Young prediction was Pablo Lopez. Too much from him that was just so good for the Twins. And I think in their race to take down that AL Central, which also is a reason I picked him, is because he plays the AL Central. Uh, I think he's going to be too much of a stud. His baseball savant is completely red, maxed out basically. His pitching run value was incredible. So I think he gets that Cy Young nod. In terms of rookie of the year, Evan Carter, I think, steps up, obviously continues his playoff success and just continues to bang in that Rangers lineup without a lot of pressure on him. In terms of the manager of the year, I had Bruce Bochy, who I think just with what he has to do as the Rangers manager, I think he will. Hold on. Yeah, with the Rangers, I just think he has so much weighing against him being in the division he's in. Um, some of the injuries they've had with pitchers. So I think he'll get the nod as manager of the year for that because I think they're going to have a really successful year. Comeback player of the year is going to be, in my opinion, Byron Buxton. I think he's just had some down years lately. He's coming back in to play center field. I think he's going to be a full-time center fielder again, or at least attempt to be. And I think he's going to do a good job of uh, improving this year. So, what are you doing, dog? Sorry, a lot of interruptions. That's okay though. That's kind of how I project the season to go. So maybe a little foreshadowing. Um, Reliever of the year, Josh Hader, obviously former Brewer. He's a stud. Going to be pitching for the Astros, closing out games. I think he's going to have a ton of save opportunities with how good of a team that is. So I think he can help them win those one-run games too, which is always such a key thing in baseball. Then moving on to the NL, MVP, I have Shohei Ohtani. Now that's barring whether or not he is um, suspended or not. There's the whole deal with the betting going on with Ippy or whatever his translator's name is. So I think him, or if he doesn't win it, I think uh, Acuna again could win the MVP award for sure. Um, Acuna is just so um, dynamic. I don't think he'll steal bases because he doesn't have that 40-70 number to chase necessarily, but um, he's just so good. And he's going to be on such a good team that I think he always has a good shot at winning the MVP. By rookie of the year, after not a great start, just one inning in his first major league start, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I think will bounce back as a Dodger and have a great first season and easily be enough to win rookie of the year. Hard for me not to put Jackson Chorio, but I had to go with Yoshi here. But the manager of the year, kind of like I mentioned earlier, Craig Counsell, the trader. I just think the Cubs are going to win the division. I think it's with the name like Craig Counsell, with the contract he got. I think getting them a division title will give him that award. So comeback player of the year. If Walker Buehler comes back and pitches well, I think it'll be him. I didn't really know where to go with this award as much, so that's kind of my where I just went with it quickly. David Bednar is my reliever of the year. I think he's got a lot to prove in Pittsburgh. Low pressure, just because I don't think they're going to be trying to win in many games, but I think he's going to look to obviously improve his stock when it comes to arbitration numbers, trade value, and potential um, contract value in the future. Sorry for that. And let's finish with the Cy Young prediction in the NL that I have Freddie Peralta. If you want to hear more of my breakdown on him, I won't do it again. Go look at my 2024 starting pitcher projection. I talk a lot about his kind of baseball savant stats, stuff with his extension, his strikeout rate, and I think that's just going to skyrocket with him being the ace. He's a guy who likes the pressure, he likes the lights. Being the ace of the team, I think, is going to help him a lot, and I think he's going to break through and have a Cy Young type year. So here are some storylines I wanted to just kind of glance at quick. Were the Diamondbacks a fluke? Making the World Series, they had a lot of young guys. Obviously, a sophomore slump is always kind of in the mix for someone like a Corbin Carroll, but I personally don't think so. I think they made great additions. Their pitching staff is solid enough, and their lineup can hit. And I'm excited to see like Carroll and Marte. Not excited to play them, but I really think they're going to be a solid team, and I think they're going to give the Dodgers a run for their money, which was the next storyline. Is are they going to be completely unstoppable? They're currently 1-1 after splitting the Seoul series with the Padres. I think the NL West race is going to be a lot closer than people think, with teams like the Diamondbacks and Giants jockeying for position in that second place, or potentially even trying to dethrone the Dodgers a bit with the first place spot. They've both made rosters that are capable of competing with a team like LA, but can they compete for 162 games? I don't know, but we'll have to see. However, I do think in a 7 game series, they would be able to compete. So I think that's the interesting thing about it. The AL East is stacked. I'm super excited to watch some play out there. A lot of good players added to the division, kind of like the NL West. Um, the Yankees obviously went out and added a lot of guys. They have some injuries now, which kind of sucks, but the Orioles added a big pitcher in Corbin Burns and I mean, they're constantly growing from within. Um, with Jackson Holiday on the brink of potentially making the roster at some point in the season. He was sent down in spring training a few days ago, so he won't start with the team. But I think that's a good way to start his year, get his feet under him a little more, maybe coming off that high of flying through the minor league system like he did, and give him a little bit of a humbling experience and kind of give him some time to make sure he's ready. There's really no rush to bring him up either. They won 101 freaking games. So they, I mean, I think the guys who are up there right now got it covered for now. And like the Blue Jays, I think if they could add a lefty or two to their lineup, that could be huge. The Rays are going to be the Rays, and I think that they'll fall somewhere between 80 and 90 wins, in my opinion. I, it was hard for me to not have them make the playoffs, and I feel like that's going to burn me. But they're obviously going to be a stud team. And the Red Sox, let's move on. The player movement projection, I had a couple guys I talked about last episode of the Brewers, like a Willie Adames and Devin Williams. In terms of other top trade candidates, Dylan Cease obviously went to the Padres. Uh, those were a couple of the guys I was planning on talking about with this section. Otherwise, I mean, you've got guys, Brian Reynolds, I think was extended. He's always a guy every year who is being discussed as a trade candidate. His partner in crime over there in Pittsburgh in David Bednar, yeah, he was extended. David Bednar, I don't know. I think he will end up being traded. If you're an athletic, you have a chance of being traded. If you have, more than a year of team control. Um, Potentially some guys on the Nationals. I mean, if like is Joey Gallo on the Nationals? Nope, not Joey Votto. Gallo. Yes, National currently. I think if he can bang, he could have a different roster spot. at the end of the year if he's able to hit like he can with the power he can. But I mean, he's a career 197 hitter, which is kind of insane to me that he's been in the league now for this will be his 9th season. That's incredible. Last thing I wanted to talk about was my World Series prediction. Wow, that was rough. Maybe I need another sip of this cream soda. All right, so I predict coming out of the AL, I think the Orioles do it, having Corbin Burns at the top of the rotation. Sadly, losing Felix Bautista, but bringing in Craig Kimbrell was huge. I just think they're going to be very overpowered coming into the playoffs. If they can catch heat at the right time, I don't think that people will be able to beat the youth that they have on that team. I think Jackson Holliday will be with the team at that point, probably playing second base. Gunnar Henderson at short, Jordan Westberg at third. I believe that's his name, Jordan, right? Yeah. Mountcastle playing first, potentially DHing. Santander out in the outfield. Mullins, Rutschman. I mean, this team, if they can stay healthy, I mean, they have the depth too. So if they can stay healthy, I mean, this team looks good. Austin Hayes barely gets mentioned. He's a dude that's hit over 100 plus, 100 OPS plus for the past 3 years, and he sits at the bottom of their lineup. So I think this team is going to really be tough to stop. And I think they'll play the Braves. As good as the Dodgers are, there's too many moving pieces with Mookie Betts playing shortstop, Yoshinobu Yamamoto being, a top pitcher in their rotation after hardly pitching, or having no innings in the major leagues up to this point. Shohei Ohtani, obviously some controversy going on with him, but still injury concern. There's been talk about him potentially playing the field, and that's just kind of a mess to me. They just seem like they're trying too many different things, and when you have the money that they have, it's interesting to me that they don't go out and just trade for a Willie Adames to fix their shortstop position instead of trying to shift Mookie Betts back to shortstop, which is just a crazy, crazy concept. And if they can get it to work, that's pretty insane. But I just don't think the Dodgers will be able to keep up with the Braves in the playoffs. So, in my opinion, the Braves they're pretty unstoppable. Spencer Strider looks incredible in spring training. I think 37 innings, giving up like 2 earned runs uh, through his time in the spring, striking out tons of people. He's been working on his breaking stuff, and just with the other guys in the rotation as well. Their bullpen's always solid. I think that's going to be a tough team to beat. So it's kind of the storylines I wanted to talk about, make my World Series prediction, talk about my standings prediction, and a little bit of who I think could win some awards. Now it's your turn. Reach out on socials and or leave a comment of your projections, how wrong I am. You can always tell me that as well. And anything and everything you want to say. If you want to tell me how your day's going, feel free. If you want to tell me that the Brewers suck, feel free. However, I might send some shots back at you, but it's never personal, right? But yeah, that's kind of our little activity instead of a game or immaculate grid like last episode. That's kind of what we're going with. Just some feedback, maybe a prediction of yours, uh, or again, maybe a critique of my predictions, which I will say I'm not the most informed baseball fan. However, I try. As always, the B&B beer requests. If you have any beers you've been dying to try, if you have a go-to beer that I need to try, comment or reach out on any of the socials listed below with what I should drink next. With that being said, the cream soda is halfway gone, and this podcast is done. Thank you for listening, everybody. I'll talk to you tomorrow.